Good morning. Welcome back. It's time for morning Oasis. I'm going to shut some things down while you guys come in. Hope you guys are having a good day so far. It's been an interesting one over here. Let's see. Okay, so it's 10 o'clock on Tuesday. Is today Tuesday? Yes. Tuesday the 21st of February. It is rainy outside and gray and beautiful, though. I actually really like the rain. It makes me feel good. Nobody has requested any card pulls for today, so if you have a request for that, let me know. Oh, good morning, Teresa. Thank you. Today's one of those days where I'm going to be like running all day. You know, I've got, as soon as we finish the show, there's a grounds committee meeting where I do all of the notes, take the minutes for the meeting, and then I have to go and run errands, then a dentist appointment, and then I get to hang out with my friend Hannah Neal. Yay, I haven't seen her in forever. So today's one of those busy days, like kind of a run. Okay, Amanda, perfect. You would like a card pull, and if anybody else would like one, just let me know. We can do a few. Last night I watched Arrival, and it was such a fascinating movie. I ended up watching it again this morning because, okay, Teresa, I needed to see it again. I wanted to talk a little bit about it. I'm going to do that for just a moment. It was interesting because there were many aspects of it. One of the things that I really enjoyed was how they talked about the spherical expression, like how they spoke, how their written language was in a sphere, and the way and orientation and every nuance about the way that sphere was shaped was the language that they spoke. And in order to compile a message back, like a sphere could contain either a word or it could also contain a whole phrase, a whole sentence, a whole concept. It was really interesting. I've had many dreams in my past, especially over the last few years, where I'm at one point I was camping with a friend of mine. And I had this dream that this bright glowing light came and everything was backlit. My tent is kind of a white tent. And there was this like writing being written on the wall of the tent. And it was very similar, not exactly like the writing in that movie, but it was this kind of circular logic. And it wasn't moving in the way you would expect. It was kind of like coming in and appearing on the wall. It was a fascinating dream. So it was interesting to see that. It was also, I loved the way they played with time in that movie, the way that they went through an expression, her life, in this non-linear way. It's been that whole process of kind of awakening and being in a state of allowance. Your consciousness does shift around your timeline. It shifts through your expression in these different ways. And so it was really interesting seeing that, the way they played that out in the movie. And also I loved how, you know, she was able to communicate with them because she was using her intuition, connecting in on this intuitive level. And I think that when we start using our intuition to reach out to each other, to connect with each other, when we're having conversations, it changes the whole platform with which we're talking. We're able to share so much more when we're sharing our energy with each other and receiving energy from each other. So there was so many interesting things about that. The other piece that I thought was interesting, and I'm just going to throw it out there, was that consequence of dismissing fear of others, of not recognizing the fear that was driving and motivating each person, and how it only takes a few to create something so explosive, you know, literally in the movie it was explosive. So I think that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, is that consequence of fear, and is a greater topic. So I'll go ahead and do some card pulls. Oh, good morning, Siska. Good to see you. Or good evening. Good evening. That's right. You're all the way over there. Amanda, let's see. The Dreams of Gaia Tarot deck is wanting to talk with you. So we'll do that one. In case you guys don't remember, this is this deck here. I know it's backwards. Raven Felon is the name of the author and artist in this deck. Yeah, so this is kind of interesting. So this card is integrity, right? And integrity comes from a willingness to be transparent, right? She's completely naked. She's totally exposed. There's nothing she's trying to hide. She's surrounded by guardianship-like animals. You know, the jaguar, the owl, and the snake. Those are the three species, the main species of the planet. You know, we have visitations from beings that are of these types. They're archetypal representations of life. There's a waterfall behind her, a tree under her. So really all of the elements are represented in this. And integrity is an embodiment of all of these aspects of the self, right? And the willingness to stand out there with whatever it is that we have to do. And that's also part of what I wanted to talk about today. So it looks like, Amanda, that you're working on clearing up and opening up your integrity even more, finding those pieces of our lives, and we all have them, that compromise the integrity, where we tell a little white lie to hide maybe something we're afraid of being known for or seen for. A lot of people, as they're awakening, struggle with how much do I share, how willing am I to be seen as what I'm doing, who I am. So it sounds like that's part of what's going on for you right now. Teresa, let's see. We'll do a card pull for Teresa. And that's a lot of what I wanted to talk about today, is that empathic nature and how we actually end up through our empathic nature feeling even more like we have to hide. So many postings out there are all about that, are saying that you have to reject certain people because they make you feel bad. And this is something I've brought up and talked about several times over this last week, trying to understand for myself, how much do I reject others? How much do I allow? How many times do I allow somebody in my life to harm or create damage? And are they actually harming and creating damage? These things are so tricky to navigate. So, and this is the perfect second follow-up card for that. Teresa, you got Radiance, Summer Solstice. And geez, that's just like radiating it out, shining, showing your light, being completely exposed. The summer solstice, where we are at the longest period of our day, the light is all day long. And our sun, a lot of people are starting to talk more and more about this. It's becoming more part of the collective awareness. Our sun, our planet, all the planets in our solar system, they have consciousnesses as well. And it is the relationship of these planetary and celestial bodies that create the environment with which we live, the energy and the mood. When the sun has a temper tantrum, let's say, a solar flare, a solar storm, it blasts this energy out. And we can relate to that, because what happens when our kids have a temper tantrum and they just blast this energy out and you're like, oh God, and you feel like you have to meet it and respond. You have to come back and respond to that energy. So it's really, it's in the air. This is in the air. Like, how do we radiate ourselves out there? But when we are so seen, how do we deal with being so seen? So the empathic nature. I've been doing a lot of reading lately, and one of the things that you hear over and over and over in the metaphysical and energy working community is it's like a victimhood approach to being an empath. This idea that you can't go out and be in social circumstances or settings that you can't be around a lot of people, that you can't have a normal life as an empath. And, for me, I had a lot of social anxiety. I had a hard time going to places that were crowded. I did a lot of concerts and shows when I was young. I had a lot of musician friends, went to attend clubs and things like that, but I didn't go to the big, huge scale things. I only went once, and I was like, oh my God, that's horrible. That was so overwhelming and so intense. And when I married my husband, he's totally the opposite of me, where I'm kind of like happy to be home, happy to be comfortable in my space. I have control over my space and who comes in it and who's not. He's like, I want to be out there. Thrust me out in the middle of everything. I want to go out. I want to be out there, and I want to do whatever I can do and find whatever I can find. And he's so adventurous and explorative, and he loves heavy metal concerts. I am not a heavy metal music listener. I love like Nako Bear. I love like Enya. I like Pink Floyd. I like a totally different kind. I'm as happy listening to Debussy as I am listening to, gosh, I can't even think of names right now. So I listen to a completely different style of music than he does. He likes hard hitting. He likes it to be loud. He likes to feel it through the body. And so we ended up having to come to this like agreement a long time ago where he would not get any birthday or Christmas presents. He did not want Father's Day presents. He didn't want any of that. His presents would be that I would attend these concerts with him. So we go to about 4 or 5 a year. And it used to be a nightmare for me. It used to be like the hardest thing I could do. And we would have so much conflict around getting out the door because I'd start feeling this anxiety. My anxiety would mount and my behavior would become short, confrontational, irritable. I would escalate situations unconsciously because of my own discomfort and my fear around what would happen as we moved forward. So, then I would drink in order to numb that feeling, or I would smoke, or I would eat, or whatever it was that was feeling like, oh, that's going to give me this relief. So I would do these behaviors that would then compromise my integrity, right? They would make me actually feel less strong, less secure, less myself, less authentic. I didn't know how I would be responding. I really wasn't sure how I would behave or how I would be able to show up. And that's like the trap that I see so many people fall into when they're starting to try to when they don't understand really their empathic nature. So there's a lot of messages out there that that highlight this whole dynamic that we get into as empaths. But I would like to see us start to transition that from being a victimhood space of I have to control the outside in order for my empathic nature and my ability to see or feel or communicate to not be impacted. And that's a slippery slope in this community, because there's also a certain amount of pride and elitism that comes with the idea of being an empath, of being a psychic, of being an intuitive, of being special, right? We feel above the others. There's a lot of talk about that. A couple of friends and I, we used to say that we were going muggling or mugging. We're going to go out with the normal people, and oh God, we've got to bring ourselves down just to be able to get into the space, or how are we going to have the normal conversations? And it always felt like, ooh, I don't know if I should be saying that. I kind of felt a little compromised having that attitude, and it's that elitism. And it's bred into us. You know, it's a part of us. And I was just talking with Jesse actually last night about it, about that elitism, that ego space, and how do we get through that space and move forward? How do we use our empathic nature, our intuitive gifts, our psychic abilities, without making it a platform that we stand above others upon? And that's also tricky because, you know, we are beings that feel so isolated from each other and separate from each other that we define each other by what we are not. I am not like that person. I am different. And therefore, by being not like them, I am better. And what does that really get us in the end? It gets us isolated and alone. It achieves the goal. Now, if we look at it from a different perspective, what if we look at it from the perspective of we are source and we want to have an authentic, individuated experience. We want to have an experience where we do not know that we are God, that we do not know that we have the ability to change everything. And we want to preset our life path, our expression. So what does that really mean, right? Like, what do we need in order to do that? Well, one, we have to not connect with each other, because once we really start tuning into each other, we see how similar we really are. And we have to believe ourselves to be separate from them. We have to define ourselves, create this separation. Now, if you've been watching my show from when I first started way back, we've already had conversations about the separation wound, that wound of separation, that original cutting away from source and an individuation, the finite of the infinite. And I bring it back up again because I don't think it can be talked about enough. When we are creating behaviors, when we are creating situations that define us and separate us, like considering ourselves different because we're empathic, we're actually maintaining and deepening the separation wound. We're creating that even deeper distance. So it's programmed in, right? It's part of the human expression. It's part of creation, especially at this density, this level of awareness, where, you know, we have to overcome the individuation and get through to the point where we are finding a unity in each other. And that's the whole point of being here, is, can I, as God, run this maze in the dark, unknowing, and find my way back to my God self? Is it possible? And is it possible for me to do it from this set of circumstances? And now how about this maze? And what will that look like? And how long will it take me to find my way back? That's why we come back over and over, and we have multiple lives. You know, I try not to use the term past lives, because time really doesn't exist when you step out of the creation and start looking at the energetic expressions. So I thought that today, we have been rushing through our meditations lately. So I thought today what we could do is in our meditation, work on this empathic nature, work on an embracement and an allowance of each other in order to facilitate a deepening of this understanding of the oneness with each other, that one expression of each other. So I hope that fits in with where you guys are at. If not, well, this is where I'm at. So that's what we're going to work on today. The other thing I wanted to say is, you know, being a psychic or being an empath or being intuitive, it's actually not a unique thing. It's an aspect of the human vessel. It's inherent to the human vessel. Just like the ability to write or the ability to draw is not unique, the ability to do it well of course, comes from practice, from having an inclination and a desire. And there's obviously going to be a stronger pull towards certain types of drawn or written expressions. But it is not something that cannot be taught. Like singing, we may not all be the most amazing of singers. We may not all be able to hit those high notes or hit those low notes the way that, we would want to. But I can attest to the fact that after having sung for the last 2 years, almost on a daily basis in practice, I'm getting pretty good. And if you'd heard me sing 2 years ago, you'd be like, Jessie, just stop. Seriously, just stop. I was told I couldn't hold a note, that I was tone deaf. I was embarrassed to sing in front of people, and I still struggle with it just because that's been my programming for so long. So we all have the ability, we all have the capacity. It's where our interest, it's where our devotion, it's where our attention, it's where our priorities put our energy into that creates a state of allowance for us to develop and grow. So just because your empathic nature is overwhelming you or creating an environment where you feel overwhelmed in situations, it does not actually mean that you're, first of all, the only one there experiencing it that way. And second of all, that the others there are any less than because they're enjoying themselves and they're not overwhelmed by the others. The truth is, most people actually feel that high in being in a group. They love that feeling. And that doesn't make them any better or worse either, does it? Right? Not really. It's just human nature. And they feel the high of coming together and everyone focusing on the same thing. Everyone is listening to the same music, singing the same lyrics. It's always the same. Okay? So that's basically what we're going to work on in meditation today. So go ahead and check your positioning, check your posture, make sure you're comfortable. And Teresa, I'm going to throw this out there. I have a video up in my YouTube where it's called Meditate Anywhere, How to Meditate Anywhere. And the thing about having a lot of loud noise or having a lot of things going on around you when you're trying to create a space of meditation is it actually, it's an unconscious limitation. You hit the nail on the head there, Jessie. And it's not that, it's not about, you can remove the part of yourself that feels judgment or blame. Like, no, I'm not limiting myself. This is outside of me. This isn't my struggle. This is other things. And there's other things happening around me. And when I am in a state of allowance, when I am allowing the outside to be a part of me, then I can see that more clearly. So I know that for you, Teresa, from the things that we've talked about, you have a lot going on up in the head, and it's hard to find that quiet. So if that's a hard thing to find, you're going to find that your environment is loud. So maybe making it okay for it to be loud, like that's a part of the meditation, is what I like to do. For instance, there's a place that I love to go to. I was actually just talking about it last night. It's one of my favorite places to go and meditate, and it is right next to I-84. I mean, like 25 feet from I-84. You hear everything going by. And I went there with one friend, and I was like, oh yeah, let's meditate. It's amazing. And she's like, how can you possibly meditate here? This is awful. You're right by all the cars and the trucks. You can hear everything going on. And I said, Oh, really? I don't know. It sounds kind of like the ocean to me. I just imagine it's the ocean and that it's the waves crashing and feel the energy of these vehicles moving. And when a semi goes by, it's like, it makes me think of a giant whale, like, so we can take those noises and turn them into a part of the communication, turn them into a part of the environment. Now, banging, sawing, those are different kinds of noises. What if you imagine you're in a forest and there's all these, animals doing construction around you? Or tuning into the consciousness of these people that are creating. What's happening when construction's going on? Somebody is taking something old and transmuting it into something beautiful, something new, something repaired. So we have to get into a space of allowance for what is around us. Kind of like here, I sometimes am doing meditation and leading a meditation in a video, and suddenly the work crews show up and they're leaf blowing outside. And the first time it happened, I was just like, oh, you're interrupting my recording, and I got really frustrated and irritated. I ended up just losing my focus, and it became, what if, when the blowers go off, we use the energy of that wind, the created wind, to blow and clear out the space. They're blowing those leaves. Let's blow out that karmic debris. So try in this meditation with that sound around you to, instead of resist it for creating an environment not conducive to your meditation, to allowing it to be a part of your meditation. And maybe if you hear a drilling a hole, use that energy to drill deeper into your own consciousness. So that's my advice for that. If it is a real struggle, you can come back and join the meditation, listening to it through the recording at another time. So let's go ahead and check our posture. Remember that just like in electricity, it works better if we're not folded up, we're not crossing our lines, that we're feet touching the floor, either that or laying back, sitting comfortably in a state that you can be relaxed in, okay? So go ahead and begin to bring your focus into your body with the breath, breathing in this present moment and exhaling. Beginning that circular breath, as soon as you exhale, breathe in and exhaling. Speaking of the work crews, breathing in this present moment, start to smell the air, feeling the temperature of the air as it passes through the body, feeling the chest and the lower abdomen starting to swell as you breathe deeper. And as you exhale, I want you to imagine you're just unhooking yourself from your day, unhooking yourself from all the things you've got to do after this meditation. Breathing in and exhaling, unhooking yourself from everything that happened yesterday and before you came into this space. Breathing in, feeling that breath going all the way deep down into your root. And as you exhale, unhook your expectations of yourself in this moment, in this time and space. Breathing in, present state, present awareness. And as you exhale, I want you to send those roots even deeper and wider from the soles of your feet, from your seat. If you're laying down, from your back, wherever you feel roots growing. Breathing in As you exhale, again, just that push of the roots, making them thicker, reaching wide. Remember, the tree, just like it is above, as that canopy opens and unfolds, so too do the roots open and unfold. Reaching out, feeling the roots of your family, your friends, your pets, your environment. The trees communicate through their root systems. The whole forest will be in communication. Let's drop into that forest of humanity, that forest of creation. Breathing in. Take a couple of roots, like taproot, and send them deep all the way down into the center of the earth. And today we're going to go a little deeper. We're going to go through the earth, out the other side, and effortlessly and gracefully we're going to tap our roots into the sun, the center of our solar system, as the leaf blowers come in. And the mail. Allowing these entrances of different vibrations, communication, clearing out the old, using these vibrational things to support us in our meditation. Sending those roots into the sun, feeling it tapping into that source of heat and energy, the creation of life for our solar system. Feel that energy as you loop those roots back from the sun all the way back to you, tapping into that cyclical exchange. Bringing that energy up through the body. Feel how it's a little bit different today as we tapped into the sun. That vibration is a little different than what we're used to, just tapping into Gaia. Allowing that energy effortlessly and gracefully to rise up through the body. As it does so, it's burning and consuming those things that were blockages, the debris that's left in our body from unexpressed pain, unexpressed emotions, fear, anxiety, righteousness, whatever it may be that we're ready to let go of, that's defined us, these barriers that we've put up between ourselves and the others. Allow them to become the kindling of this energy. Feel how it's now up into the knees. Bringing it up through those thighs. This is very similar to that tingling energy vibrations that have been popping in for a lot of us. Just out of the blue coming in because the sun is shifting right now. It's expressing itself in all new ways. Bringing it up into those hips, feeling that energy rising. I love doing this with you guys. So much more amazing with a group of us. Bringing it up through the hips. We process so much fear and anxiety in our hips, in our lowest part of our abdomen, in our bladder. For men, that prostate. For women, that uterine area. There's so much that gets held in those regions. It's just allow that to become the kindling to even more strengthen this fire in our bellies. This passion, this excitement to be here at this point in the creation. Burning as bright as we can in this time, in this space. Bringing that energy up through the abdomen into that sacral space. Into our womb of creation. Allowing those fears, those anxieties, those blocks that tell us we can't create, we cannot be, we cannot love, we are not loved, we will never be seen for our true expression, for our true ability. All of those are just little logs on the fire, just allowing it to burn and release. Remember, if you feel the need to adjust the body, do so. It's important when you're doing this kind of work because those little pops and snaps of the joints are releasing as well. Bringing it up through that sacral space and into our solar plex. Feeling in that power space. Maybe you're feeling disempowered, feeling different, feeling less than in some way because of this disempowerment. Maybe you're feeling overly inflated in your ego, superior, righteous, validated, above on that pedestal. Just use that pedestal as the perfect fuel to burn with this fire. Allowing that energy to rise up into the heart space. We hold so much pain in our heart, so much unexpressed love, so much desire and longing for connection, especially if you haven't worked on the heart space. It's tender, it's scared, it's been hurt, it's been wounded, it has all these little chambers and compartmentalizations, a maze in order to find the way into the true love in the heart. Let's just burn that maze up right now. Because we don't have to hide or trap our love away anymore. It doesn't have to be a goal that somebody has to work their way through to find in you the love. We're just going to burn all of that up. Using that belief blower energy to blow the ashes out so we can feel that fire a little bit more. Bringing that energy in, up through the shoulders, where we carry the weight of what we believe to be our personal burden, our individuation, our responsibility that we must bear alone, that no one will understand. Let's just release that. Moving the shoulders if you need to in the process as you release that sensation of bearing the weight of your life. Down through the arms, where we express so much that we aren't even aware of. Where we create acts of violence, acts of tenderness, acts of love and connection, acts of separation and removal. Releasing those as we continue to bring the energy back up through the arms and into this throat, making sure you're also coming back up that spine, making sure that energy is flowing through the back as much as the front. Bringing it up through the mouth, through this whole space where we share and communicate our love, our hate, our fear, our beliefs, our understandings, our allowances, just flowing it up through. I'm feeling like for some of you guys, the energy's gotten pretty weak as it's come up because that heart space needed so much. Remember, There's infinite energy available for you. Draw more up through the roots with consciousness and awareness, bringing more of Gaia and solar energy up through the roots. Sarah, if you're having a buffering issue, that tells me that there's some need to create a separate space in order to have the meditation. When that happens, it means there's a lot coming through. There's a lot of energy coming through. The equipment isn't used to handling that level of energy. You're also sending a lot of energy out, connecting in, feeling this kinship and recognition. So just allow that. That's okay. You can rejoin and watch this through the recording and have just as much of an impact. Be an allowance of that. Bringing it up through the head. There we go. Much stronger. Coming up through that throat, into the head space. We're going to bring it up into the space where we see and interpret how we view, how we look at things, how our perspective redefines, reshapes, recuts that separation wound. We're just looking at this and allowing it to show us all there is as that energy comes up through the head space and begins to bundle at the crown. Continue drawing that energy up into that crown as you feel the pressure in the crown increasing, just like a bud in a flower. It begins to increase as the petals grow until it bursts and opens. Feeling the crown open and allowing that energy to rise up through as you send your consciousness, riding the wave of this heat all the way up into the heart of creation, into Source. Allowing Source to receive you. See how there is this separation between you and Source, and allow it to dissolve as you feel the oneness, the vastness, the infinite consciousness. Allow your consciousness to stay up in that Source space while you allow the energy of Source to ride down your connection in its infinite abundance and begin filling the vessel, filling your energy field with this energy. Feeling it pouring down through the body, filling that headspace, allowing Source's perception, Source's view of your life, of your expression to radiate out from your third eye, your sixth chakra. Allowing that energy to flow down, filling the space in your throat chakra. How would Source express itself were it to be free of the limitations? Feeling that energy coming down. How does Source view the burden of expression as you come into the shoulders, sending that energy down through the arms, allowing Source to express through your hands. Bring that energy down into the heart space. Feel the love that Source has for you, has this peace that's been individuated, that made the agreement to come and express for it, learn for it, bear the weight for it. Breathing. Bringing that energy down into the solar plex. How does Source feel empowered in the infinite consciousness, in the infinite creation? Bring that energy down into the sacral, connecting into that point when Source created a creation, individuating itself in the massive creation of all we know. Feel that power of creation. Bringing it down into our root, into our seat, as Source began to express itself in physicality, tapping into that space of physical creation. Allowing that energy to go down through the legs. Feeling our stubbornness, our rigidity, our inability to flex, to hold strong. Allow it to melt. Releasing the need. As Source's energy now flows down through your roots, all the way down. Spreading that energy through your roots into the forest of humanity, the forest of this physical expression of Gaia. Tapping down, allowing that Source energy to go through Gaia, all the way through your roots, all the way through into the sun. Feel that linking as the one becomes three, and the three become one. You, the creation, and the creator, right? All one. As I hear all of my neighbors coming out, joining with each other in laughter and communion, the coming together. Now I want you to call into focus in front of you, as though you're looking at yourself, a reflection of yourself as an individual, as a single, as the one, just one. And now I want you to call next to it anyone that you view as separate from you. Even if it's separate in a good way, separate in a bad way, whatever. It's the first person that comes to mind, right next to that one of you. Look at the two. And begin to see not how they're different, but how they're the same. Begin to see the connection, the energy between them. They both have two legs and two arms. And the energetic, even if we lose them in the physical, we still have them energetically. Begin to see them until they blur together. You know when you stare at something for so long, it's like it all blurs together. Allow them to blur together as you release the need for them to be separate individuals. Call into focus another that you view as separate from you. Maybe somebody you view as less than. And allow them to grow and become more than as they blend into oneness with you. Continue this process, calling up individuations and allowing them to come in to unity. As you call in that conscious unity awareness of self. Now take all of those, that big glob of others, and bring them into the self, into the heart, as you release your need to be separate. And let's just feel this unity with each other for a time. Remember, if you feel the need to move or shift the body, do so. You're being shown areas you hold resistance. Allow that energy to flow. I'm feeling some ankle pain. Ankles are all about allowing ourselves to receive pleasure and joy. So send that pleasure and joy you're feeling in your heart down. Send it down through the body, down through the legs, down into the ankles as you feel full body pleasure sensations. You're allowed to enjoy. Sending that pleasure and joy down the roots, even below you, into Gaia, all the way through to the sun. Thinking of that feeling of the warm sun kissing the skin. Create that cyclical flow of joy as you radiate it out. Feeling the shoulders needing to move as you release the burden of being a singular and step into the unity. Go ahead and stay in this state for as long as you choose. I hope you can stay in it for a good long time. I am so grateful for every single one of you who showed up today, who will show up tomorrow. Thank you for being one with me, and have a wonderful rest of your day, guys.